Hello, AP Lit. It's me, Mr. Nelson. I want to take just a couple minutes and kind of talk to you about the way in which this next week's going to work, the assignments and grades and final research project and all that. I was trying to think of a way to make this a little bit more normal. What do I usually say when I start off a class? And for sixth period, let's see. Oh yeah, I probably have to say, Lewis, sit down. And then Archer mentions the weather in some way. Traub is probably quietly judging me. Seventh period, Logan Herbert asked me some off the wall question I've got to field. Jones Wormser's rolling her eyes at me about something I said. Nate is laughing. When I was told that we were going to be teaching online, I told Sherry that it's going to turn teachers into YouTubers, and I feel like that's absolutely correct. I find myself now having to figure out how I project video at the same time show my screen, and so I don't know. We're just all YouTubers now. The one advantage I think it does give me is I can now kind of edit out little clips of video that I normally say to all my classes, and so I can kind of splice those in, and so I don't have to repeat myself over and over and over, which is pretty nice. So let's talk about grades. If you read the email from Basis Ed and analyzed it in a way, essentially, if you like your T1 and T2 grade average, you get to keep it. There's nothing I can do in T3 that could possibly harm your grade. If you recall how the normal student-teacher dynamic works, typically I have a stick that is your grade. I offer some extra credit, which is the carrot, and that's how we get you across the finish line. My goal ultimately is to get you prepared for the AP test, but I've just lost my stick. So with that being said, our one goal is still the AP test. I feel that's the one thing that we can really take out of this entire situation. I've geared the assignments in such a way as to, I feel, get you as prepared as possible for the AP test. You'll notice that I've given you a typing assignment to help you type better. I'll talk a little bit more about that. I'm going to give you a reading assignment to kind of keep you active and reading interesting things. And then I'll give you an AP essay assignment where I'll force you to deal with an essay prompt in some way. I plan on giving points for each of those. I figure what we'll do is just kind of keep track of them. Maybe I can do some sort of leaderboard and see who gets the most points and turn it into a game. I don't know how much time or energy I'm going to spend to any of this, but that's how I kind of figure the next couple weeks going. With that all being said, the next issue we need to talk about is a research assignment. Obviously, if you love your T1 and T2 grade, then there is very little incentive for you to actually do the research assignment. I don't know how each of you are going to analyze that, but I'm just accepting that as a reality. I do consider the research project to be extremely beneficial for you. I feel it's helpful to wrap your mind around a single topic and kind of dig into it to a certain degree, and that's what I've always liked about it. But let's just chalk that up to another sacrifice to the coronavirus. If you want to improve your grade, if you want your overall grade going into the AP test to be as high as possible, I will tell you that if you do your research project, I will reward you handsomely for doing so. I will do whatever I can to help out your grade, because I do know that you're going to kind of going above and beyond. But that's kind of the way I want to take it for the time being, and with all the new information coming out, that's just kind of where I'm at the moment. So, okay. So let's talk a little bit about each assignment. The first one I want to focus on is the typing challenge. You'll notice I gave you a link to Nitro Type. Here's its website right there. You can sign up for free using your Google account. It actually links with my Google Classroom, and so I can kind of see your scores as you guys got to go through this. And what it does is it teaches you how to type quickly with good punctuation, capitalizations, periods, all those sorts of things, everything that you would need to do for the actual AP test. And I feel like if we can just slowly practice typing and increase our words per minute, every little bit is going to help when you're writing that timed essay under 45 minutes. If you don't have any idea how to type, if this is completely new idea to you, there are tons of websites out there that you can use to kind of get you started as a very baseline understanding of what you should be doing. Here's an image of a keyboard layout where your hand should be. Index fingers should be on the F and the J function. Most keyboards have a little raised bump that you can feel so you don't have to look down your hands. And then your fingers just go to the quickest, easiest key from there. Use your thumbs for the space bar. Everybody says you shouldn't look at your hands. My argument is you shouldn't look at your hands if you're good. When you're starting out, look at your hands. Look at where your fingers are. Look at where your fingers should be going and get a feel for where the keys are on the keyboard, and you'll get better and better. And then as you are quicker, then you can start to move away from looking at your hands. So let me see if I can get a game going here. All right, let's do this. How'd I do? What? Fourth? Okay, so the next assignment I want to talk about is the AP essay prompt that we're going to practice. I'm using the College Board website because I imagine that's how you're going to take the AP test in a month, and so I want to start getting us used to it. So I posted an FRQ on there, and what I want to work on this week is only practicing and thinking about that sophistication point. How do we take our essay to the next level? And for the next month, I feel like you've got the right tools. For the next month, I just want to work on making our writing a little bit deeper and more complex and significant than we have in the past. So the FRQ I selected for you this week is called Evelina's Visitants by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. There's a bunch of prompts that I have that I kind of save that I really like, and I only use them when I need it. I don't think I have everyone's attention, and I want to kind of coax you guys to read something more interesting. This is one of them. I love this piece. In the midst of it, by the end, someone's going to get stabbed and be dying and declare a curse upon the person who killed them, and that's always a fun time. But in the midst of it, it's the context in which this happens that I find even more fascinating, right? If you're like me, you look back at that period of time, that Victorian era, where people wore powdered wigs and guys were wearing blush and all sorts of things, and I just always, kind of considered it lame. But at the same time, you've got to recognize that they were having duels. Like, people would fight and stab each other to death in the street over women, and it was a lot more violent than I guess the powdered wigs led us to believe. So I find that interesting, because in the midst of this, you're going to read this, and for 3 paragraphs, they're just going to be setting up this world and this setting that you're going to find the characters kind of immersed in, but it's that world that brings the violence, right? It's that world that's so concerned with image and honor that you would stab a guy for insulting your honor, that I find fascinating. The other part I want you to realize as you read through this is the age of these individuals, right? These are guys who have promise, and they have their entire life in front of them, and at 20 or whatever, you're going to get stabbed and die, right? Imagine that. You look at your life and you think, man, I'm young, I've got the entire world in front of me, and then all of a sudden you have a moment as you're bleeding out on the sidewalk to contemplate that entire life you imagined for yourself is no longer, and it's going to be, pulled away from you. What do you say to the person who just took that from you? How do you react? So I want you to read this passage. I don't need you to write an essay on this. All I want is for you to write a thesis statement. And what I want you to be particularly concerned with is the larger contextual argument that you can make with this piece, right? The sophistication point that you're trying to earn on the AP test comes from context, right? If you can give an appropriate amount of context for the analysis that you're going to apply to the literature, that will get it to you. So talk about the setting that these guys find themselves in. Talk about the way in which the setting's presented, the way in which this information is revealed to you, and then the situation that the characters actually find themselves in and feel compelled to kind of carry through to the extent of murder. Put all that in context as a larger argument and include that in your thesis, right? So the thesis will include, what you think the piece is doing and what your argument is for it, but also it will incorporate that context that you find that literature working in. So I encourage you to do that. I'll leave responses and read them and comment and do what I can to help you out. So if you're still following me at this point, first off, kudos to you. The third assignment I have is a short story. I feel like every week you guys are kind of stuck in your house. I'll give you something interesting to read. This is Barn Burning by William Faulkner. You read A Rose, maybe you did, A Rose for Emily last week, which is a completely different story. Barn Burning, at the same time, deals with family issues, but it's nothing similar to A Rose for Emily. Completely different kind of angle. But what I find it fascinating is when you read these two stories back to back, you really get a feel for William Faulkner's, impact family has on a person's life. Let's just say that, right? Which is pretty obvious. We understand that family has a large role to play. But sometimes in William Faulkner stories, you realize really how much they can curb an individual, right? An otherwise good individual can absolutely be destroyed by growing up in a very, very bad family. That good people can find themselves subjected to influences in the family that they sometimes are unable to overcome. So Barn Burning, really good story. The main character is a little boy named Colonel Satoris Snopes, which, if you're looking for a first name for a character, that's a pretty good name. But I encourage you to read it. In the assignment, I asked you to write a 3-paragraph essay. All I am really looking for is some sort of analysis of this piece. What is he communicating about family as a thesis? Some sort of evidence that supports it, and then some conclusion that kind of wraps it up and takes it to a higher level. Just to kind of keep your mind sharp. And that's it for the week. 3 assignments. I don't expect them to take you that much time, but if you want to stay on top of the AP tests and try to do as well as possible, I think these will help you get prepared for it and make you stay sharp. We will have a live chat everybody wanted to do on Zoom on Thursday. I think I have it scheduled at 1 o'clock because Miss McEwen reserved 11. But that's fine. We can go at 1 o'clock. I don't mind. And we'll just chat. And if you have questions, I'm willing to do live chats as long as it's beneficial. If you don't think it's beneficial, then we'll stop doing them. But for the time being, I'm here. Help out in any way I can. If you have any questions directly, email me or chat, whatever works best, then let me know.